Ready to unlock some serious word power.
I like it.
Today, we're diving deep into 33 words that can seriously level up your communication game.
Mm-hmm.
Think clearer thinking, more persuasive arguments.
Oh, yeah.
Even better chances of hitting those goals you've got.
I'm in. Where are we starting?
Our source is this article called IELTS Band 9.0 Vocabulary.
IELTS, huh? Sounds kind of academic.
It is, but trust me, these words are useful way beyond just tests.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's the first word gem we're digging up?
First up, we're tackling a group of words that are all about describing trends.
Trends? Like what, fashion trends?
Those too, but think bigger. The stock market, social movements, even your own energy levels throughout the day.
Oh, I see. So we're talking about how things change over time.
You got it. And the words we're using to paint that picture are fluctuate, plummet, soar, stagnant, and exponential.
Ooh, those are some powerful words. I can see how they'd add a lot more punch than just saying something much up or down.
Exactly. Like instead of the stock market went down, you could say the stock market plummeted.
Yeah, that definitely sounds more dramatic. Like you can almost picture it a steep drop.
Right. It's like choosing the perfect word is like choosing the right brushstroke when you're painting a masterpiece.
I like that analogy. But it's not just about sounding fancy, right?
Nope, not at all.
There's got to be some real substance behind these words.
There absolutely is. Like take exponential, for example. Understanding what that really means helps you understand, say, why a certain tech company suddenly takes over the whole market.
Ah, so it's not just about using these words. It's about using them to understand the world better.
Boom. You got it.
Okay, so we've tackled trends. What's next?
Let's move on to words that can power up your argumentation skills, help you make your point more effectively.
Argumentation, huh? Sounds a bit intense.
It can be, but it's also about having those really productive conversations where everyone feels heard.
Interesting. So what are these magic words?
We're talking advocate, refute, contentious, consensus, and contend.
Whoa, lots of C words there. But how do those help with a good conversation?
Well, imagine you're advocating for a cause you're passionate about.
Okay, like let's say I'm trying to get more funding for my project at work.
Perfect example. Just saying, I need more money probably won't cut it.
Probably not.
But using a word like advocate, it shifts the whole tone. You're presenting a carefully thought out case, not just whining.
That makes sense. So it's strategic word choice, not just throwing big words around.
You got it. And what about when you're dealing with a topic that's super contentious?
Contentious meaning?
Like there's lots of disagreement, people have strong opinions on all sides.
Oh, so something like climate change.
Exactly. That's a great example.
But even though it's contentious, it also seems like that's where a lot of innovation happens.
That is such a good point. Because you've got all these different perspectives clashing. New ideas can emerge.
So contentious doesn't have to be a bad thing.
Not at all. It could be a catalyst for change, a sign that people are really engaged.
I like that. So we've got words for trends, we've got words for arguments. What's next?
Let's add some punch to our opinions.
Ooh, tell me more.
We're about to explore words that add weight, nuance, and a whole lot of impact to what you're saying.
So instead of just saying, this is important, I can sound way more convincing.
Precisely. And the words to do that are imperative, ambiguous, astonishing, unprecedented, and viable.
Okay, I'm already feeling smarter just hearing those. Give me an example. How would I use imperative?
Instead of it's important to recycle, you could say it's imperative we adopt sustainable practices to protect our planet.
Whoa, that does sound a lot stronger.
Right. It emphasizes the urgency, the necessity of taking action.
I like it. What about unprecedented? What does that even mean?
It basically means something that's never happened before.
Oh, so like all the crazy technology stuff happening these days, that's definitely unprecedented.
Exactly. And realizing that it's unprecedented helps you understand, like, how much impact it could have.
Because it's not just new, it's completely uncharted territory.
Got it.
Okay, those are some good ones. But what about when things aren't so clear-cut? What about when there's room for different interpretations?
Oh, you're thinking about the word ambiguous.
Ambiguous, yeah. Like sometimes things aren't black and white, right?
Exactly. Sometimes those ambiguous findings, the ones that don't have a clear answer, lead to the most interesting discoveries.
Because they make you think harder, dig deeper.
Exactly. It's like those movies with the ambiguous endings. They stick with you. You keep thinking about them.
Totally. So we've got words for trends, debates, opinions. We're covering a lot of ground here.
We are. But we've got one more area to tackle before we wrap up this first part of our deep dive.
Okay, hit me with it. What's next?
Let's talk about words that can elevate your writing, especially in Academic settings, professional reports, that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. Got to make those professors and bosses impressed.
Exactly. So which words are going to help us do that?
We're moving into the world of subsequently alleviate, catalyst, mitigate, and constrain.
Those sound pretty serious.
They can be, but they're also useful in everyday life, too.
Give me an example. How would I use mitigate?
Instead of saying, we fixed the problem, you could say, we implemented a strategy to mitigate the issue.
That does sound way more professional, more in control of the situation.
Right. It shows you're thinking strategically, taking action.
I like it. So we've covered a lot of word territory. Trends, debates, opinions, academic writing. What else could there be?
Well, there's actually one more thing that our article talks about.
Oh, what's that?
It also has these themed word lists.
Themed? Like what?
Like words specifically related to the environment, technology, social issues, all kinds of stuff.
Oh, wow. That's cool. So it's like a vocabulary toolbox for talking about current events.
Exactly. It's all about having the right words to understand and discuss what's happening in the world.
Okay, well, we can't possibly cover all those words in this part of the deep dive.
That's true. There are a lot.
So let's just focus on a few really impactful ones from each of those themes.
Sounds like a plan.
From the environment list, the word deplete really stands out to me.
Deplete. Why that one?
Because it highlights the consequences of unsustainable practices, like how deforestation is depleting rainforests at an alarming rate.
It's not just describing it neutrally, it's got that sense of urgency built in.
Yeah, exactly, like a warning sign.
Okay, that's a good one. What about from the technology list? Any favorites there?
I think disruptive is a must-have word these days.
Disruptive, huh? In what way?
It describes those technologies that completely change the way we live and work. Think the internet, smartphones, that level of change.
Yeah, those were definitely disruptive.
And those disruptions keep on coming.
That's true. Technology never stops. So we've got deplete for the environment, disruptive for technology. What about the social issues list?
From that list, I'd say resilient is one of the most powerful.
Resilient, meaning?
It captures that amazing ability humans have to bounce back from tough times.
Whether it's personal struggles or communities recovering after a disaster?
Yeah, exactly. It's a reminder that even in the face of hardship, we can adapt, overcome, and rebuild.
That's inspiring. So we've explored a ton of awesome vocabulary today.
We have. But I bet you're thinking, okay, how do I actually make these words mine?
Yeah, how do you go from knowing them to actually using them in everyday life?
Well, for that, you'll have to join us in part 2 of this deep dive.
Ooh, a cliffhanger.
Gotta keep you coming back for more word power.
I'm hooked. Can't wait to find out how to actually integrate these words into my vocabulary.
We'll give you all the tips and tricks, so stay tuned.
Welcome back to our vocabulary adventure.
We've uncovered some serious word gems from that IELTS Band and 9.0 vocabulary article.
Yeah, but now it's time to get practical.
Exactly. How do we actually use these words?
Let's boost our communication game.
Become more persuasive, more articulate.
Yeah, make them work for us.
So it's not about just memorizing definitions. It's about making them a natural part of how we express ourselves.
Like second nature.
Okay, so give me an example. Let's say I'm trying to convince my friends to try this new restaurant.
Okay, I'm listening.
How could I use one of these power words to make my argument super convincing?
Instead of just saying the food is really good, you could try something like, the chef's innovative dishes are creating quite a buzz. I hear it's an astonishing culinary experience.
Ooh, astonishing. That definitely adds some flair.
It piques their curiosity, makes them really want to try it.
Yeah, like it's not just good food, it's an experience.
Exactly.
Okay, that's a good one for everyday conversation.
Yeah.
But what about in a more professional setting? Like, how could these words help me navigate those tricky work situations?
Ooh, good question. Let's say you're in a meeting and there's a disagreement about how to approach a project.
Happens all the time.
Instead of just saying, I disagree, try this. I understand your perspective, but I contend that we need to consider the long-term implications of this approach.
Contend. I like it. It sounds more thoughtful, more measured.
You're not just shutting down the other person's idea.
You're engaging with it.
Presenting a counter-argument.
Yeah, and contend just sounds so much more professional than disagree.
It elevates the whole conversation.
Okay, so we've got words for persuasion, words for disagreement. What about those times when you have to, like, deliver bad news?
Ooh, yeah, those are never fun.
How can these words help me do that gracefully?
Let's say you have to tell your team that a project is delayed.
The worst.
Instead of saying we're behind schedule, you could say, due to unforeseen circumstances, the project timeline has been constrained.
Constrained, okay. It's not sugarcoating it.
But it sounds less negative than behind schedule.
Yeah, it acknowledges the difficulty while still maintaining a professional tone.
It's about choosing words that convey the right message without being overly emotional.
I like that. So we've talked about how these words can help us in our personal and professional lives. But they can also help us understand the world around us better, right?
Absolutely. Let's say you're reading a news article about a political crisis.
Okay.
And the article says the situation is volatile.
Volatile. Okay. I know that word. But how does it help me understand the situation?
It immediately tells you that things could change rapidly and unpredictably.
Oh, I see. It's like a warning sign.
Exactly. Or if a scientist describes climate change as an unprecedented challenge.
Unprecedented again. That word's coming up a lot.
It is, because we're living in unprecedented times. But what it highlights is the gravity of the situation, that we've never faced anything like this before.
It adds a whole other layer of meaning.
Yeah, it's not just a problem, it's a huge problem.
So these words are like keys that unlock a deeper level of understanding.
They help us make sense of complex issues.
Engage in more informed discussions.
Yeah, and form more nuanced opinions.
Okay, all of this is great. But I gotta be honest, sometimes using these words feels a little intimidating.
I get it. You don't want to sound like you're trying too hard.
Yeah, like what if people think I'm just showing off?
That's a valid concern. I think the key is to use them naturally and authentically.
Not force them into every sentence.
Right. Find opportunities to integrate them seamlessly into your communication style.
So it's not about memorizing a list and then just dropping them into every conversation.
Exactly. It's about building a genuine connection with these words.
Understanding how they can enhance your communication.
Make it more impactful, more precise, more engaging.
Okay, that makes sense. But how do we build that connection? How do we make these words feel like ours?
One really effective way is to actively practice using them.
Practice makes perfect, right?
It really does. Try writing a blog post or an email incorporating a few of the words from the article.
Or even just challenge yourself to use them in everyday conversations.
Yeah, the more you use them, the more natural they'll become.
It's like working a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Exactly. And speaking of practice, what about those themed word lists from the article? We didn't get to explore those too much in the first part.
Oh yeah, those lists. They seem super useful for like talking about current events and stuff.
They are. Let's say you're discussing the impact of social media on mental health.
Okay, big topic these days.
Instead of just saying social media can be bad for you, try this. The constant pressure to present a perfect image online can be incredibly detrimental to self-esteem.
Detrimental. That's a good one.
It's more specific, more impactful.
It captures the nuance of the issue.
Yeah, it goes beyond just a general statement.
Okay, I'm getting it. So it's about choosing words that elevate the conversation, make people think.
Exactly.
Got any other examples? I'm really starting to see how these words can be used in so many different ways.
Sure. Let's say you're talking about the future of work.
Always a hot topic.
Instead of just saying technology is changing jobs, you could say automation and artificial intelligence are poised to disrupt traditional industries, creating both challenges and opportunities.
Ooh, disrupt. That one's powerful.
It acknowledges that change can be both positive and negative.
It's not just about fear-mongering or being overly optimistic.
It's about recognizing the complexity of the situation.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this part, exploring how to use these powerful words in various situations.
You've got personal conversations, professional settings, even understanding current events.
But the question remains, how do we make them stick?
How do we go from fumbling around with them to using them effortlessly?
Yeah, like they're just a natural part of our vocabulary.
Well, that's where we'll pick up in part 3 of our deep dive.
Ooh, another cliffhanger. Gotta keep those brains engaged.
We'll be exploring some practical strategies and techniques to solidify these words in your memory.
Make them an effortless part of your communication.
So don't miss it.
We'll be right back with you to unlock the secrets of mastering these vocabulary gems.
And we're back for the final part of our deep dive into word power.
We've uncovered 33 awesome words.
Yeah, but now the real challenge, how do we make them stick?
How do we go from just knowing them to using them like it's no big deal?
Exactly. Like, it's one thing to recognize them when we read them.
But it's a whole other thing to have them ready at the tip of our tongue.
Ready to just roll off in everyday conversations.
So how do we get there?
Any tips for making those words truly ours?
Absolutely. One technique that's super effective is flashcards.
Flashcards, really, like back in school.
Yep. but with a twist.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Instead of just word and definition, try this. On one side, you wrote the word.
Okay.
And on the other side, you write a sentence using that word, but make it personal.
Personal how?
Connect it to something you're interested in, something from your own life.
So, like, if I'm really into personal growth and the word is catalyst.
My sentence could be, attending that workshop was a catalyst for me to finally start my own business.
Perfect. You're not just memorizing a definition, you're linking it to a real experience.
It's making it meaningful.
Exactly. That personal connection makes all the difference.
Okay, flashcards, personal sentences, got it. What else?
Another powerful technique is to actually practice saying these words out loud.
Out loud, like just talking to myself.
Well, you could,
Uh-huh.
but really it's about getting those words off the page and into your spoken vocabulary.
So instead of just thinking, wow, that sunset is astonishing,
You actually say it.
this sunset is absolutely astonishing.
There you go.
I guess it does make a difference, doesn't it?
It does. It reinforces those neural pathways, makes the word easier to recall later on.
It's like a workout for your brain.
Exactly. But let's be real, sometimes we're in the middle of a conversation
Yeah.
and the perfect word, it's right there on the tip of our tongue.
But we just can't quite grasp it.
Ugh, the worst feeling. One way to combat that is to create mental associations.
Mental associations, like what?
Think of vivid images, scenarios that connect to the word's meaning.
Okay, give me an example.
Let's say you're trying to remember mitigate.
Mitigate.
Imagine a firefighter spraying water on a raging fire, trying to lessen its intensity.
Ah, so the water is mitigating the fire's destructive power.
Exactly. Now you've got a strong visual to help you remember that word.
I'll never forget mitigate now.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I hear it, I'll picture that brave firefighter.
Perfect. And beyond all these techniques, I think it's important to remember that language is alive.
What do you mean?
It's constantly evolving. New words pop up. Old words get new meanings. The way we use language is always shifting.
That's true. I guess we can't just learn a set of words and be done with it.
Exactly. It's a lifelong journey.
This deep dive, it's just the beginning.
It's like opening a door to a whole universe of words waiting to be discovered.
The more we explore, the more we realize how much power language has.
To shape our thoughts, connect with others, understand the world.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It is. And that's what this deep dive has been all about.
Equipping you with the words to express yourself.
More clearly, more persuasively, more authentically.
So as we wrap up this episode, I challenge you. Pick one word that really resonated with you
Yeah.
and make a conscious effort to use it today.
It doesn't matter which word, just choose one and go for it.
Advocate for a cause you believe in. Describe something astonishing you experienced. Maybe just acknowledge a situation that feels really ambiguous.
Whatever speaks to you,
The point is, embrace the power of these words.
make them your own.
And remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about having fun with language.
Experimenting.
Discovering how words can enrich your communication.
And ultimately, enrich your life.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the incredible power of words.
Keep exploring
Keep learning.
and keep those words flowing.